Good day and welcome to the NetEase 2021 first quarter earnings conference call. Today's conference is being recorded. At this time, I would like to turn the conference over to Margaret Shi, IR Director of NetEase. Please go ahead.
Thank you, operator. Please note the discussion today will contain forward-looking statements relating to future performance of the company and are intended to qualify for the safe harbor from liability as established by the U.S. Private Securities Litigation Reform Act. Such statements are not guarantees of future performance and are subject to certain risks and uncertainties, assumptions, and other factors. Some of these risks are beyond the company's control and could cause actual results to differ materially from those mentioned in today's press release and this discussion. A general discussion of the risk factors that could cause NetEase business and financial results is included in certain filings of the company with the Securities and Exchange Commission, including its annual report on Form 20-F, and the announcements and filings on the website of Hong Kong Stock Exchange. The company does not undertake any obligation to update this forward-looking information except as required by law. During today's call, management will also discuss certain non-GAAP financial measures for comparison purposes only. For a definition of non-GAAP financial measures and a reconciliation of GAAP to non-GAAP financial results, please see the 2021 first quarter earnings news release issued earlier today. As a reminder, this conference is being recorded. In addition, an investor presentation and a webcast replay of this conference call will be available on the NetEase corporate website at ir.netease.com. Joining us today on the call from NetEase senior management is Mr. William Ding, our Chief Executive Officer, and Mr. Charles Yang, our Chief Financial Officer. I will now turn the call over to Charles, who will read the prepared remarks on behalf of William.
Thank you, Margaret, and thank you everyone for participating in today's call. Before we begin, I would like to remind everyone that all percentages are based on renminbi. We began the year with a record quarter exceeding RMB 20 billion in revenue for the first time, and net income attributable to the company's shareholders increased 25% year-over-year to RMB 4.4 billion. Our games business also reached a new record of RMB 15 billion in net revenues, up 11% year-over-year in the first quarter, despite a high comparable base last year. In Q1, our flagship titles continued to demonstrate strong growth after nearly 2 decades of operation, with revenues from Fantasy Westward Journey Online and Westward Journey Online Mobile all growing at double-digit rates year-over-year. Tianxia 3 is another exemplary case. It is one of the rare instances where a legacy PC MMORPG game has regained growth after reaching maturity. Leveraging our growing knowledge and more recent successes in both MMO and non-MMO genres, we added some casual flavors to this legacy MMORPG, giving our players a fresh feel and creating new content for users to consume and enjoy. We also crafted an in-game event at the end of last year, which quickly generated strong interest and discussions in the players' circle, leading to a large inflow of returning users who rejoined the game. Other games in the spotlight during the first quarter included Life After, Onmyoji, Identity V, and Invincible. Life After has remained an iconic title with strong appeal among young users. The new collaboration with the movie Godzilla vs. Kong in the first quarter was well received by players as they fought off doomsday monsters. Onmyoji also showed remarkable longevity, remaining at the forefront of China's iOS top grossing chart. During the first quarter, we rolled out a highly anticipated IP collaboration with Demon Slayer, a classic Japanese anime, further strengthening Onmyoji's position as a top ACG game in China. Celebrating its 3rd year anniversary in April, Identity V continues to draw the attention of young players, bringing them a thrilling competitive experience with a distinctive Gothic art style. Between January to May, we hosted our annual global championship tournament, Call of the Abyss, with its finale being set in Hangzhou, attracting close to 2 million game players globally to participate in this event. Invincible remained steady in the first quarter with strong user engagement, holding unwavering loyalty from its fan community. Despite numerous Invincible-like games popping up in the market, Invincible has proven to be a trend-setting pioneer in this game genre. This also echoes well with our corporate DNA in product innovation. In terms of new games, we have launched a few new ones since the beginning of this year. We started with Revelation mobile game in January. As we discussed last quarter, this is our self-developed RPG game based on our flagship PC title, capturing both returning fans and brand new MMO players. We then launched Elysium of Legends in March, a self-developed card RPG game that brings together legendary figures in Chinese history. Shortly after these releases, both games reached the top of the iOS downloads chart in China. On the licensed front, in January, we introduced Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, a competitive card game based on the nostalgic IP that we licensed from Konami. And more recently in May, we brought the highly anticipated casual game Pokémon Quest to our domestic audience. Featuring cute-shaped Pokémon, the game invites players to befriend and create their Pokémon team to tap and battle through Tumble Cube Island. Shortly after its release, Pokémon Quest quickly climbed to the top of the iOS downloads chart in China. In overseas market, we continued our efforts to expand our offerings while maintaining steady operation of our existing titles. Knives Out once again reached the #1 spot on Japan's iOS top grossing chart a couple of times during the first quarter. Following a collaboration with well-known Japanese IP, The Promised Neverland, in February, Identity V was also crowned #2 on Japan's iOS top grossing chart. The success of these games has helped us to gain a much better understanding of Japanese users and their preferences, allowing us to be more sophisticated in localization efforts. For instance, we found that Japanese users greatly value the sense of occasion. Users want to feel the grandness and ceremonial appeal in each game event. Take Knives Out as an example. Knives Out Day, the widely anticipated annual celebration officially recognized by the Japanese Anniversary Association since 2019, marks the start of the game's annual carnival on May the 5th, which includes the biggest esports championship tournament in Japan, as well as other exciting activities. We invited all of our users, brought millions of them online on that day, and the event has become one of the top trending topics on Twitter in Japan for the past 2 years. With a couple of titles gaining popularity and recognition already in the overseas market today, we are hopeful that our upcoming releases will bring the next generation of games to the world stage and further expand our footprint in more regions, particularly in the US and Europe. In April, we launched Infinite Lagrange in Europe. Similar to Invincible, we expect Infinite Lagrange, our first globally targeted SLG game, to ramp up its revenue gradually and show a similar upward trend and longevity with time. This game will be next available in the US and other overseas markets over the coming months. As our very first next-gen SLG, we have been under development for a number of years. We hope that this title will extend our success in SLG into overseas markets. The highly anticipated Harry Potter Magic Awakened is also on track to meet eager audiences. We are thrilled to bring this game to Wizard fans soon, taking players around the world on a magical adventure. Earlier this month, we announced that we joined hands with our Polish partner, 11-Bit Studios, to develop and publish the mobile version of the world-renowned IP Frostpunk globally. Later this year, players will be able to access this elaborately crafted post-apocalypse social survival game on mobile platforms. In addition, we have a handful of other exciting titles in our pipeline. Adding to those we just mentioned, our pipeline also includes The Lord of the Rings, Rise to War, Nightmare Breaker, Diablo Immortal, and Ghost World Chronicle. For more details on these titles, please join our annual product launch event on May 20th, 2 days later, which will be hosted online this year and will have a dedicated English section for our global game players and business partners for the first time. We are proud of our world-class R&D infrastructure, which has been pivotal in maintaining a competitive edge in this market and delivering long-term value. The most important element is our people. With that in mind, we encourage our talents to share and exchange ideas with industry veterans worldwide. We just hosted the 2021 NetEase Game Developers Summit in April with a 3-day forum covering topics like game design, art, and technology. The event brought together our internal developers as well as external industry partners, including gurus in the Western game industry and developers community, to share their in-depth game development philosophies and experiences, sparking wide attention from developers, game players, and many others in the industry. Now turning to our education business, Youdao achieved strong and sustainable growth in the first quarter. Total net revenues from Youdao increased by 147% year-over-year to RMB 1.3 billion, and overall gross margin significantly improved to 57%, reaching a new record since its IPO back in 2019. Gross billings from Youdao's K-12 segment was up 130% year-over-year, despite a high base last year due to the outbreak of COVID-19. K-12 paid student enrollments doubled year-over-year to 306,000. In order to match the growing scale and ensure the optimum teaching quality, we continued to strengthen our servicing team, which comprises 197 instructors and over 4,000 well-trained tutors by the end of the first quarter. Given that different syllabus is used in different parts of China, one of the most important agenda for us is to ensure localized content for courses we offer. We took our junior high school Chinese as the pilot case. During the past spring semester, we launched up to 31 versions of junior high school Chinese, meeting the needs of students in 31 different provinces. The localized courses have turned out to be very effective and very welcomed by our students. Net revenue of Youdao's learning devices also continued a year-over-year growth of 280%. In March, we introduced the Dictionary Pen 3.0 Pro version, further supporting bilingual translation of Chinese and Korean languages to meet the demand of a wider range of language learners. Youdao also further integrated the functions of our Dictionary Pen and the Youdao Dictionary app, making the offline-online transition even more efficient and effortless. Looking ahead into 2021, we are confident that Youdao will continue to grow its position as a leading provider of intelligent learning services and products, and our diversified business models, products, and technologies will give us the upper hand in the evolving after-school tutoring and edtech market. For our cloud music business, we have come a long way. Celebrating its 8th year anniversary last month, we are proud to say that we have sought and created new possibilities for music in this digital era. Our platform, which features a vast and highly interactive content community, has become a widely recognized household name that is seen as a cultural emblem amongst particularly the post-90s or younger generation. With a large base of young music lovers on our platform who are more willing to explore and discover music, we have been the creative outlet and a natural stage for independent musicians to shine. We strongly believe independent artists are a crucial driving force for the music industry, and our platform uniquely positions us to nurture them in the modern era. In April, we held our annual signature event, the Indie Music Artist Ceremony, for the third time, celebrating the past year of their music and encouraging independent musicians to continue creating their remarkable work. In addition to our original music, we want to continue bringing together a library of new, unique, and influential music pieces from around the world and providing music fans with the ultimate audio experience. We have just announced a direct digital distribution partnership with Sony Music Entertainment, one of the world's 3 largest recording companies. Following UMG, this is the second direct licensing arrangement we have signed with the big 3 labels, and we are proud to see these positive changes happening in the music industry in China. Moving on to Yanxuan. As a private label consumer brand, we further strengthened our brand appeal among the young middle class, developing products that revolve around their needs. Centered around this notion, and along with Yanxuan's 5th-year anniversary, we developed a new value proposition, Live the Way You Like, through a promotion intended to express the voice of the new middle class. This campaign resonated strongly with its intended audience, sparking lively discussions. During the last year, we rolled out a range of highly popular Yanxuan products, which have sold well since their introduction. Our strategy to incubate more hit products has paved a smooth path for us to strengthen Yanxuan's product portfolio. We recently introduced a number of new style products, such as our proprietary laundry pods, wireless earbuds, bathroom fragrance, which quickly became top-selling products on multiple platforms and some of the most recognized products in those emerging categories. We see potential in many of our proprietary products, and we are working to introduce a greater number of signature products this year. Additionally, we continue to optimize our operating efficiency in the first quarter. During the quarter, both our inventory turnover days and the fulfillment efficiency were improving. In summary, we are off to a strong start in 2021. Our game portfolio is getting ready for exciting new titles for both domestic and global players, while our existing games continue to hold strong. Our online education, music, and e-commerce businesses are each on solid footing as well. Premium and diverse content creation across our businesses continue to be our primary objective as we move forward, entering a new phase of growth and generating additional value for all of our users and stakeholders. This concludes William's comments. I will now provide a very brief overview of our first quarter 2021 financial results. Given the limited time on today's call, I will be presenting some abbreviated financial highlights. We encourage you to read through our press release issued earlier today for further details. Total net revenues for the first quarter were RMB 20.5 billion, or $3.1 billion, representing a 20% increase year-over-year. Our net revenues from online game services were renminbi 15 billion, up 11% year-over-year. This year-over-year increase was primarily due to increased revenue contribution from newly launched Revelation mobile game, Fantasy Westward Journey H5, as well as PC games such as Fantasy Westward Journey Online. Net revenues from our mobile games accounted for approximately 73% of net revenues from online game services in the first quarter. Youdao's net revenues reached RMB 1.3 billion, up 148% year-over-year, driven by fast growth of both its online courses and sales of intelligent learning devices. Net revenues from innovative businesses and others were RMB 4.2 billion for the first quarter, up 40% year-over-year, mainly due to increased contribution from NetEase Cloud Music, as well as Yanxuan and CC live streaming. Our total gross profit margin was 53.9% in the first quarter, with a breakdown as follows. GP margin for our online game services was 64.6%. As a reminder, this number is generally stable, with some narrow fluctuation based on the revenue mix of mobile and PC titles, as well as self-developed and licensed games. Gross margin for Youdao was 57.3%, compared with 43.5% in the same period of last year. The significant growth was primarily attributable to the improved gross margin from learning services due to the economies of scale and the continuous optimization effort of its cost structure. It is also due to the substantial sales growth of the smart learning hardware, such as Youdao Dictionary Pen, which carries a higher gross margin than other hardware product lines. GP margin for innovative businesses and others was 14.4%, compared with 15.8% in first quarter of last year. While the margins for NetEase Cloud Music and Yanxuan have improved year-over-year significantly, the impact was partially offset by the decrease in GP margin from the rest of the business segments in this line. For the first quarter, total operating expenses were renminbi 6.8 billion, representing 33% of the total net revenues. Our selling and marketing expenses as a percentage of net revenue were 13.5% in the quarter. If excluding Youdao, our selling and marketing expenses as a percentage of net revenue were below 10%, lower than the previous quarter. As a reminder, fluctuation in selling and marketing as a percentage of revenue largely depends on the number of new games launches in a particular quarter, the genres they are in, and the most suitable marketing plans adopted for each new game launches. R&D expenses were renminbi 3.1 billion, largely stable from the previous quarter. We remain committed to investing in content creation and product development, which is core to our revenue growth. As a percentage of net revenue, R&D expenses were 14.9%, compared with 15.3% last quarter. Effective tax rate in this quarter was 22%. The effective tax rate represents certain estimates by the company regarding the tax obligations and benefits applicable to it in each quarter. Non-GAAP net income attributable to our shareholders for the first quarter totaled RMB 5.1 billion, or $776 million. Our non-GAAP basic earnings per ADS were renminbi 7.58, or $1.16. Our cash position remains strong. As of the quarter end, our total cash and cash equivalents, current and non-current time deposits, and short-term investment balance totaled RMB 106 billion, compared with 100 billion as of the year-end last year. In accordance with our dividend policy, we are very pleased to report that our board of directors has approved a dividend of $0.06 per share, or $0.3 per ADS. Lastly, under the share repurchase program approved by our board, approximately 3 million ADS had been repurchased in the first quarter for a total cost of approximately $330 million. Thank you for your attention. We would like now to open the call to your questions. Operator, please go ahead to Q&A.
Thank you, sir. If you would like to ask a question, please signal by pressing star 1 on your telephone keypad. If you're using a speakerphone, please make sure your mute function is turned off to allow your signal to reach our equipment. For the benefit of all participants on today's call, if you wish to ask your question to management in Mandarin, please immediately repeat your question in English. Please ask 1 question per time. If you would like to ask more questions, please join the queue by pressing star 1 again. We'll pause for just a moment to allow everyone an opportunity to signal for questions. We'll take our first question from Alex Poon with Morgan Stanley.
谢谢接受我的提问。我想问一下关于未来在游戏上线方面，我在这个 press release 看到你们写这个未来几个月这几款产品都会就大的产品都会上线，所以想问一下具体的一些这几个 Harry Potter、Lord of the Rings、Diablo 这几款游戏的一些细节在上线时间，然后这个发布的方式testing 等等，谢谢。My question is regarding the press release. We have mentioned these big titles, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Diablo Immortal will be coming in the next few months, in the coming months. So would I like to understand about the launch schedule and details around these 3 big titles. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. I'll answer your question directly in English. We do have very, very strong visibility and confidence for a rich pipeline, including highly anticipated games like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Diablo Immortal, and a few others that I mentioned just now. And many of these games have already obtained the license approvals already from the regulators. Most of these games will be launched in the second half of this year. In fact, 2 days later on our annual gala game day, May 20th event, we will be disclosing more details on existing games as well as some of the exciting new titles. I would encourage you and the investor community to join our event online to get more details just in 2 days' time. So a little bit more patience, please.
谢谢 Charles， 非常期待520，谢谢。
Thank you. We'll take our next question from Jialong Shi with Nomura.
Thanks. Good evening, management. Thanks for taking my questions. I will ask my question first in Chinese. I will translate myself later. 谢谢接受我的提问，然后也恭喜一个非常强劲的这个业绩。然后我有一个问题是关于这个游戏行业的这个问题，想请教一下，就是最近这几年我们看到中国游戏行业有一些有一些迅速成长起来的一些新的比较新的游戏开发商，比如说像莉莉丝和这个米哈游，然后这些比较小的这些游戏开发团队，在国内和国外都分别做出来一些非常成功的自己研发的一些作品，而且像网易一样，这些规模相对小的这个团队，他们也没有依靠大的这个游戏发行商，而是选择自己去发行自己研发的这些作品。而且都取得不错的这个成绩，所以我想问一下，就是管理层就是怎么看这个中国游戏行业的这个竞争环境，会不会因为这些小的这个游戏团队的这个崛起而会变得更加的这个竞争会变得更加的激烈？那如果是这样的话，那么作为老牌的游戏研发商，网易打算怎么样去应对来自于这些新的这个游戏团队的这个挑战？我自己翻译一下。So I will translate my questions. In recent years, there have been some independent game studios which were able to launch very successful self-developed titles. Just like NetEase, these new game studios also publish their their games on their own instead of going through third-party publishers. So my question is, do you think in China's mobile gaming space, the competition is becoming more intense? And if that is the case, how does NetEase plan to cope with the challenges from these small but quite competitive game studios?
我想有你提到的这些公司的存在，以及他们做出优质的游戏作品，说明整个中国的网络游戏的创新环境还不错大家能够百花争鸣，百家争鸣，百花齐放当然我们对于网易来说，我们在这个行业里耕耘了20年这个我们也要积极进取这个看到新一代的公司的成长，我们感觉到是这个开心的，因为说明这个行业里面有创新人才。第二个，我们也自己也要这个积极进取能够超越过去的成绩更上一层楼。
The companies that you mentioned have had great success in recent years. It means that the overall environment for creativity, especially in games, is very good in China. NetEase, we have been a business for over 20 years. We will continue to innovate, to thrive. We are happy, for the success that the smaller gaming companies have achieved, and we will, we will continue to thrive and continue to succeed. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take our next question from Thomas Chong with Jefferies.
Hi, management. Thanks for taking my questions. Can you comment about our online music strategies, in particular subscription and live streaming, and any thoughts about the long-form audio strategies? 谢谢管理层接受我的提问。我的问题呢是关于我们网易云音乐那边的，可不可以分享一下呢？在这个subscription 的收入那边，还有就是直播的收入呢，未来的增长速度呢，在看法嘛？另外的话呢，也看到了其他的PS 呢都有做这个音频的内容的一个方向我们在这个方面的话呢，可不可以分享我们的看法呢？谢谢。Hi.
Yeah, Thomas, do you want to translate your question in English? Okay. Thomas, I will answer your question directly in English. Yes, there are, as we've been mentioning in the past couple of quarters, there are plenty of possibilities in terms of product innovation, in terms of monetization streams that centered around this music vertical. And we are very encouraged to see strong, continued, and robust growth in both subscription, live streaming, advertising, and new possibilities as we continue to innovate and try out. So right now, NetEase Cloud Music, despite the fact that it's been 8 years old now, it is still in its relatively early nascent stage. So lots of possibilities. Revenue growth in the multiple formats that you mentioned have all been very strong. And specifically, you asked about long format audio. That's a very important vertical. In fact, we are a forerunner and a pioneer in this particular long format audio. Majority of our live streaming revenues actually come from long format audio. And there are more players that's been following suit and coming into this vertical. It has just proven one more time that how the potential upside of this vertical. And I think NetEase Cloud Music, just like many other product lines under the NetEase brand umbrella, we focus on unique product features powered by product innovations target specifically to this vibrant younger generation of music enthusiasts. With that, we are actually very confident on multiple fronts, both in terms of product features as well as monetization potential. Thomas?
Thank you. Yeah, operator, next question, please.
Thank you, ma'am. As a reminder, please press star 1 to ask a question. We'll take our next question from Eddie Leung with Bank of America.
晚上好。刚才扎龙也问了一个关于游戏行业的问题，我也想追问一个也是可能比较大一点的一个长远一点的问题。首先恭喜你们也是几个老的 IP 还是那个系列做得很好，比如说梦幻啊、大话啊、这个阴阳师。可是我们看见呢，全球的游戏公司，不管是可能是 console game 或是一个 PC 或是 mobile game， 感觉上好像比较容易就是用一些可能都5年、10年甚至更长的一些 IP 就 develop 一个新版本或者是一个新游戏。反而刚才好像扎龙也讲到，好像是一些新公司反而有机会创作另外一个比较即係 long term 一點的一些 IP 出來，所以想問一問，就是作為一個leading 的一個遊戲公司，我們在一個開發的時候，有沒有這樣想的這樣子的一個問題？好。So my question is actually a bit a follow-up on the game industry. So number one, congratulations on the continuous success of Fantasy Westward Journey and Westward Journey series. But it seems to be interesting to observe that globally, no matter whether it's a successful PC, mobile or console game developers, it seems to be relying to some extent new versions or new games on some of the old IPs, very big IPs, while it's actually some of the new companies are able to come up with big iconic IPs. So just wondering, as a leading global game company, how we think about these kind of like issue, and is there any indication when we developed our game strategy? Thank you.
我觉得这个观点不一定对吧？新的公司，就年轻的公司开发出一个成功的 IP 固然值得惊喜啊，但是我觉得做游戏最重要的是说可持续化经营。有一句话就是创造一个 IP 有的时候是容易的，但要持续一个 IP 长期的运营是一件更加有挑战的事情。所以我觉得在这种会上没有必要去对这种现象进行探讨。我觉得网易要集中精力做好自己的IP 的事情，包括我们过去2年有阴阳师现在马上有出来永劫无间这样的优秀的作品，包括我们过去2年还有倩女幽魂和逆水寒都非常的成功。我不觉得这个对我们来说是一种，就是说是一种这个威胁。我们经历过很多 IP 上来的时候很火，最后随着时间的推移，如何能保持持续的成长，其实是个巨大挑战。
We do not entirely agree with your comments. We think obviously it's important for new companies to create new IPs, new titles, but we think more importantly it's a long-term operation of good flagship titles. As from NetEase perspective, we will continue to do what we are doing. Over the past years, we've launched a number of very great, innovative, industry-leading titles, including Onmyoji, Justice, and America Blade Point, to name a few. So we think we will continue to do what we're doing and to create new games as well as maintaining a long-term stability of our existing titles. Thank you.
And Eddie, just to add one more point, as you can witness in the past couple of quarters, when there are fewer new game launch in a particular quarter or two, NetEase financial performance has been steady. It is again something we talked earlier in the past. NetEase is a very, very unique combination of continuous innovation to come up with new titles, as well as the operational know-how to extend the longevity and effective monetization of the old titles. It is because of this combination that we are able to deliver very steady and gradually improving financial profile for over 2 decades.
Yes, that's very true. 谢谢. Thank you.
Thank you. As a reminder, please press star 1 to ask a question. We'll take our next question from Alicia Yap with Citi.
Hi, 晚上好，管理层，谢谢接受我的提问。我有一个问题关于这个云音乐这一块，因为看到今天像我们跟索尼这边也签了，所以就是说3大的这个唱片公司我们都单独签约。我不知道就是说在这一块从内容的一些选择，或者是对用户这一块有没有一些比较大的一些改变？然后另外就是说在订阅这边其实会不会促进我们的一些增长啊？然后还有毛利率这边会不会也有一些比较大的变化啊？然后关于音乐这边也想问一下管理层，就是说我们有没有跟车厂这边去合作，像 IoT 这一块，然后在云音乐这边的一些发展啊？所以我自己翻译一下。Thank you for taking my questions. My questions is related to the cloud music. So with NetEase now currently signing directly with all the 3 major music labels, will that change the overall attractiveness of the content selection for user, and also will that help on driving the music subscription growth? Any material change on the gross margin impact? And also, can management elaborate the music strategy into the IoT partnership? Any interest that you are or extending the partnership with the OEM? Thank you.
网易云音乐做一个重要的流媒体分发平台、内容分发平台，或者说这个音乐社区或者播放器，我们非常积极的与各个上游的内容 CP 公司进行紧密的合作，帮助他们来这个宣发优质的音乐内容，这是一直是我们的目标。我们以后还会非常积极的跟更加多的上游的内容供应商来紧密的合作。还有一个就是在 IoT 方面，不管是汽车还是智能家居都是我们非常紧密的去合作的一种音乐的播放场景。谢谢。
As the streaming platform or social community for music enthusiasts, NetEase Cloud Music has always been actively seeking partnerships with content providers or label companies in order to help them promote their music in China. That's answer the first question. And in terms of IoT or furnishing or home furnishing, again, it's another important growth area for NetEase Cloud Music. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take our next question from Elsie Cheng with Goldman Sachs.
丁总、Charles 总、Margaret 晚上好，谢谢接受我的提问啊。那我这边可能有2个问题，第一个还是关于国际游戏这边的发展啊。刚刚我们也分享了很多今年特别 exciting 的一些 titles， 可能我这边就想再理解一下，好像目前看来我们在进入不同的国际市场的时候啊，可能会以不同的游戏品类去主打打开这个市场。就我不知道这边我们其实是不是有一个相对来说的确是有差异化的一个游戏品类的一个去penetrate不同国际市场的这样一个战略的想法，能不能具体的就是可能再分享一下这边的一些思考吧。然后第2个问题可能也是关于新兴业务的，我刚刚也说到一些关于云音乐等等方面的一些这个进展。其实我想理解一下，就是比如说像上个季度的时候我们新兴业务的占比呢比较高的，1季度呢可能是比如说电商的旺季啊等等，那占比又往下掉下来了。其实可能就是比较从一个中长期的角度去看吧，那个我不知道我们这个觉得就是比如说我们现在一些新的业务，比如说像电商以及云音乐的话，长期来看可能它其实现在还处于这个各自发展的这个增长曲线上的一个什么样的位置。那中长期的时候，我不知道是不是有一个特别是对这2个板块吧，有一个类似我们对海外游戏占比这样一个定量或者别的定性的目标吧。然后我自己再翻译一下Good evening William Zong and Ao Zong and Margaret. My first question is about international games. We noticed that there are a lot of exciting titles for this year, and it seems that for different international markets, we actually have different genres. That's the first of the key points to touch base with the audiences over there. So just want to follow up a little bit more here that when we think about different international markets, do we actually have the sort of differentiated competitive strategy? And then, if there any further detailed color on how we're positioning ourselves, that would be great. And then the second question is on the innovative businesses. We noticed the seasonal fluctuation in contribution to the revenue of the innovative businesses. And fourth quarter could be a good good quarter where maybe e-commerce is contributing more, and the first quarter is low. I just want to understand a bit more. So in terms of the growth curve of the 2 major lines, one is e-commerce, one is the cloud music. How would we describe the growth curve and where they are currently on that growth curve for these 2? And in the long term, do we have any targets for them to sort of potentially become another major growth driver for the company? Thank you.
其实每个国家的文化差异和硬件设备的差异性我们也发现在开拓国际市场的过程中需要有不同的类型的产品去打动这个用户网易我相信在未来是有这个能力用不同的产品去打动不同文化的用户的。比如说我们在日本就有第5人格荒野行动，还有这个明日之后我相信我们最近的那个永劫无间也受到了很多国际上用户的好评这是一个中国古代的冷兵器的作品。那这个没想到这个西方的用户也特别推崇所以这方面我相信只要我们持续不停的探索一定会找到一个不错的解决方法。
Yeah, we have noticed that because there are different culture and different devices that's used by users in different parts of the world, we need very different products targeted to particular regions and countries that resonate with the users there. And we are confident we will figure this out. For example, in Japan, we already have a number of very successful titles, including Knives Out, NTES, Life After. Recently, we have launched a new PC game, Naraka Blade Point, on Steam, and that has been performing. That has resonated very well with the users during the testing phase. It's a melee combat type of game based on Oriental Chinese martial art, and we are really surprised. We're very pleased to see that it has responded well by the global users. Thank you.
And Elsie, for your second question, I'll answer that directly in English. Our newer businesses, whether it's online education, online music, NetEase, Yanxuan, all of them are in relatively younger phase comparing to our game businesses. So by and large, we think these younger business verticals have a very promising growth trajectory. They should grow faster than my game BU in general. When you look at each quarter, however, different BUs might experience different seasonality. For instance, Q1 is a traditional peak season for game performance specifically because of the Chinese New Year, whereas it's a relatively low season, for instance, for e-commerce. Likewise, education also witnesses strong seasonality in the different semester courses throughout the calendar year. So all in all, don't be overly concerned about a quarterly fluctuation, but generally speaking, when you look at on an annual trend basis, for instance, my innovative businesses and others line, as well as my Youdao, in 2020, both lines has been growing very strong and much faster than my online game services. What we want to achieve down the road eventually is that all of our deeply incubated and cultivated verticals will have a very robust and sustainable growth. And as they continue to grow and emerge, what we want to appeal to the users is what NetEase holds in common, a premium product and services offerings with elevated user experience. That is the corporate DNA in common across the board. Okay, operator, next question, please.
Thank you, sir. Once again, if you would like to ask a question, please press star 1. It appears there are no further questions at this time. I'd like to turn the call back to the management for closing remarks.
Thank you once again for joining us today. If you have any further questions, please feel free to contact us directly or TPG Relations, Investor Relations. Have a great day.
This concludes today's call. Thank you for your participation. You may now disconnect.